Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I think we had a short outage there in our broadcast. Sorry about that. We had experienced that once or twice yesterday. The good news is that the players are unaffected by this.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're in a whole separate system, so they're not going to get dropped or booted out there. And so we're going to be ready to go into game number 3. Right now, SHIN with a very one-sided 2-0 lead.
Yeah, in kind of a surprising fashion game. These have been two very weird maps. Both map 1 and map 2. Both times, you know, we had proxying hatcheries. And game number 1, it was the hatchery on, what's that map? Antimatter. To mine out the mineral wall and go for a Ling Flood. And that was pretty exciting. And then I thought we were going to go back to a standard game. But in game number 2, we had a proxy third hatchery. Hatch blocking the Nexus.
Yeah, I've never casted that game.
That is something that like low GM players do, and it just like tortures me every day of my existence.
It's definitely a build that's in the ecosystem, but yeah, like some casts I have, I'm like, okay, I've literally cast this game before, you know, almost from start to finish. But that one was a little unusual, made for a kind of an interesting ending where it looked like maybe herO was going to be able to take it, but got a little bit too headstrong.
Yeah, there was a point where he had more Stalkers than Lings, and he's trying to basically do a Stalker all-in with one Oracle. And then, yeah, the Blinks were quite ambitious. The Hydra's actually got some pretty good trades in there, even with the Force Fields and the Hatchery blocking the Concave for the Zerg. And now we have herO one map away from being knocked down to the lower bracket, which is not really what I had expected here in the RSL.
I thought if this was going to be one-sided, that it would be with herO crushing.
Yeah.
Like, no disrespect to SHIN, of course, but I guess we're off of this recent GSL victory. He's looking very strong. But yeah, I mean, let's see if herO can come back. Obviously, there is the losers match, so he's not eliminated if he goes down. But right now, yeah, SHIN looking extremely strong. herO in both games basically unable to do whatever the build order he is planned for. Game 1, that cheese is just like, okay, nothing else matters now. You have to stop this Ling all in. And then in game 2, kind of a late third hatchery block, delaying the Nexus and making just for a very different feeling PvZ.
Yeah, and you could tell that it was kind of affecting him too. You know, I usually try not to go too much into the psychology of the players, but we were talking before we went to that series about how herO has some of the best control, if not the best control, with Protoss players in the game today, right? And then we watched that game number 2 where everything was just so funky. And he's losing oracles in ways where you would never expect to see herO lose an oracle. And it happened.
He was literally like
repeatedly.
drunk driving an oracle like through Queens, like right on top of him.
It happened multiple times. Like we had 4 oracles made in that game, I think, and all 4 of them died. Even the last one, like trying to get the stasis trap off, that basically did nothing. So I feel like SHIN's approach in this series of just doing really wild and crazy styles seems to kind of be throwing herO off of his game, and he's going to have to very quickly get that under control and get back on the rails, because game 3 is loading up. We're going to kill switch another one of the Patreon voted maps here for map number 3 of this best of 5. SHIN spawning on the left side, leading 2-0 as the red Zerg, herO on the right as the blue Protoss.
So this has been a map that's made for some pretty fun games. You are almost claustrophobically close to your opponent on this map, which makes timing attacks strong, but also kind of predictable, so to speak.
Yeah, it's very... I feel like momentum matters a lot in the early game on this map, because if you can leverage any kind of early game advantage into a push, we've seen it already in the RSL multiple times. It can just be so deadly. You can snowball out of control because it's like 2 screens away, your third to their third.
Yeah, and so we'll see if that's going to be a factor here as well, but it's just something that's worth pointing out. For now, you know, SHIN is going to go for hatchery first. I would imagine we're going to see gas and then pool here. And over here for herO, it's going to be an inevitable fast expand here with the pylon and gateway here on the low ground.
Yeah, I'm excited for herO to actually get to play his game here in map number 3. Both in map 1 and map 2. Map 1, he has to cancel the Nexus and throw down 2 more gateways to try and survive the all-in. Map number 2, he has a hatchery in his natural expansion, so he can't expand. His Stargate is like 20, 30 seconds late. But here in map number 3, because SHIN is more or less just playing standard, we will see the game plan that herO actually does have for kill switch.
Yeah. Well, you know, maybe SHIN does something else kind of crazy coming in here and tries to make it one of these games where he's really dictating how everything goes. But for now, look, I mean, there's not a whole lot to remark on, right? We're kind of getting into the development phase here. And you would know better than me, State. On this map, the Zerg is really required to take a specific base for the third base. You know, some maps, there's 2 or even 3 locations that all kind of make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen people play on this map, but because it's not the ladder, I don't really have any games on it myself. Like I opened up a custom game lobby and was just like moving around, like where can a Reaper go? Where are the Blink Stalker spots? That kind of thing. But yeah, I'm not sure. Looking at the mini map, you can see there's, I believe, a mineral wall by the natural expansion. So in theory, you might be able to take the top left base here in SHIN, but that just... It feels like any expansion you take is going to be awkward. Another thing you could potentially do is if you look at the bottom left, there's this gigantic gold mineral wall in that unlocks the bottom left base, which is another spot you could take. There's also kind of a quote-unquote defensive Xel'Naga watchtower that you can use, but SHIN just going to opt to take the center base. And I feel like of all the Zergs in RSL, I'm the most confident in SHIN being able to hold on to this one because he usually is one of these Zergs that focuses very much on the early and the mid game of ZVP. I think back when Roach Ravager was all the rage in earlier stages of Legacy of the Void and how he was just an absolute killer with those compositions. And so I feel like if anyone is going to be able to hold off the pressure that herO is doubtless going to try and levy on him with this forward third base, it's going to be SHIN.
Okay, the two Adepts are going to run up over here, and he's just going to basically cancel that Shade and try to keep them back. The third base should be starting very soon right now. These Lings actually managed to pin down for a second these Adepts. And, you know, this is not the trade I think that you really wanted here as SHIN. You know, when the Oracle comes up here, he did take out a couple of Lings. The Oracle's going to come back in, and he might even be able to snipe this drone that's moving through here. Nicely done here by herO.
Ooh, that Spore Crawler finishing at exactly the right time for SHIN. Very well mapped out. So 2 drones are going to fall here. And I mean, for herO, I think you're not going to be too upset with the way things are going right now, considering the way things were in Game 1 and Game 2. Of course, you would love to get 1 or 2 more drones with these 2 Adepts, with the 1 Oracle harassment, but in this case, the way this best of 5 has gone up until this point, I think herO's kind of counting his lucky stars that he's able to even get to this point, just be so comfortable on his side of the map, right?
Yeah. We've got more drones being cranked out here. The Oracle has gone from the harass phase into a tagging phase here to basically mark the Lings and the Queens and see if you can monitor the behavior. That usually happens when the Oracle gets low enough in HP. It's not really viable to kind of soak damage and try to snipe workers.
Yeah, but this is really cool what herO is doing. I was wondering for a moment what the Twilight Council and the Forge were so late. We have a 4th Oracle starting for herO.
Yeah.
herO is banging them in the main base. SHIN has only seen this 1 Oracle. As far as he knows, this is the only Stargate unit on the map right now, but herO's making a 5th Oracle.
Yeah, so I wonder if he's going to go for Blink with this too.
I think
Mass
so.
Stalker, Blink, and that kind of pressure play. So he's showing the 4 Oracles now and states that there's a 5th coming here. And this is where you don't have to respect the Queens. In fact, he's going to target down this first Queen. He's going to take out the second one almost immediately. 1 Oracle does go down, but 3 more are still here dealing a lot of damage. The Lings stand no chance being underneath that Oracle. So he gets in, and now he's going to get back out. He doesn't feel like he has enough to really do much more with that. 16 Lings are being made. Is there the possibility that you could do like a huge counterattack with this because the Oracle energy might be so drained it can't help defend the third?
There's going to be at least 1 Oracle with enough energy that I believe herO should be fine. And Energy Recharge also will be off cooldown in maybe 15 or 20 seconds. So I'm more curious of what herO is going to be doing with this because he's adding a cannon for safety, but with 5 more gateways, I feel like him adding this cannon is here being like, okay, I want to commit no units and no supply to defending my third. I just want to use static defense so I can have everything on the front line. And yeah, we have a 6 gateways, so I think you hit the nail on the head. 8 gateways in production. This is almost certainly going to be a Blink Stalker timing attack with all of these Oracles.
So he's got the Oracles out now. Roaches are being made too here. He's kept the Lings back. I thought he might be trying to rush in and hit him now, but I guess he's going to wind up for a bigger attack here. But in that amount of time state, this is going to be 5 more gateways that are finishing. So, you know, the production line is going to be ready to go here for units. He's going to have a lot more that he can crank out to try to defend with.
Yeah, and SHIN is feeling the pressure. He has not remade drones. He is at 52 to the 61 right now of herO. So herO, despite all of these gateways, despite winding up for this gigantic attack, actually has the better economy, the better saturation. And, you know, he's seeing no 4th base. He might have even been able to see the mineral saturation on the 3rd base and realize that SHIN is playing on solo drones. He doesn't have to commit to an attack. And in fact, it's going to be SHIN attacking into him.
Yeah, he's got the Queens coming up here. The Ravagers as well. The 1 Oracle, did it get shot down? I actually can't tell. It flew away at the top of the screen. Some more Lings are going to come in over here now. Now, the stasis ward goes off, but it is not enough to stop the surround. The Stalkers blink away, but another surround happens immediately after. If you can't blink through there, those biles connect and melt everything. And now you almost have the Stalkers kind of trapped back here over with the minerals. I'm just not sure if there's enough to hold this off. The only thing that could maybe work is if there's enough Oracles, but there's not. The Oracles are going to go down here too. I think this is actually going to be a 3-0, which is insane.
It might be, but the Roaches and Ravagers are starting to thin out a little bit right now. The Queens are standing tall, but of course, off creep, they cannot transfuse, and so there's not very much healing. herO, his army, it's been reset, but with 6 more Stalkers warping in, there is a world where he's able to hold on here, Tasteless.
He's going to be trying to take this cannon out here at the top. There's more Lings and Roaches that are going to come in here into the front lines. The question is, are the Queens and Ravagers going to be thinned out by that time? We've got some very, very low HP units. A blink in for the dive. He's going to take this out, and I think you nailed it, State. Yeah, he just has enough.
Man, herO is knocking on death's door right there. SHIN was so close to the 3-0, but he just ran a little bit out of steam, and I'm thinking back to the damage that herO was able to get done earlier. You know, if SHIN maybe had a couple more drones, a little bit of a better economy, then maybe the reinforcements are enough that he's able to have one more big swell of Lings come in, secure the kill on that third base, and carry through to 3-0. But now the momentum is shifted, and with kill switch, the third distance, it is so close. herO is already right back here with a counterattack.
Yeah, herO's going to be trying to hit pretty hard here. The Stalker blinking is looking really good, and I don't see enough Roaches here. Yeah, there it is. GG. herO takes his first game, starting that comeback. Beautifully done. I actually thought that the game was about to end there.
It looked like
was gonna, yeah, just have enough damage, but there were enough Stalkers warped in. Beautifully done.
I mean, it's hard there as herO too, because you could tell for a moment, you have 4 Oracles, you're kind of running out of energy. The best situation for herO is that he's able to just kill the Queens, so he can A-move the Oracles and then focus on the Blink micro and dodging the Biles, right? Yeah. That's the way that you kind of simplify the micro on the Protoss side of things defending. And so you could tell he had that thought process, and he sent the 4 Oracles out of the Queens. And then I think he realized there's like 8 Queens, and he could not actually take that fight. That's after he killed, what was it, 3 Queens with the initial round of 4 Oracles coming in. So SHIN must have made like a dozen Queens in that game. That was completely absurd.
It was a funny game because he did kill a bunch of Queens with the Oracles, but the Oracles didn't do that much after that. And then the fact that the Queens are almost overmade, I don't know if that forced him into this kind of all-in counterattack, but that's what we had.
It was a very funny game.
All right, guys, we're going to go into game 4 here. In the top right is herO, bottom left is SHIN.
And that was just a wild. Yeah, I'm still kind of reeling about the way that one went. I think it's because the map is just, as you said, so claustrophobic.
Yeah.
That both players kind of, not necessarily they're forced, but
they're definitely kind of compelled into getting in each other's faces early on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because looking at the production tab, looking at the way that herO was playing it, it seemed like he just kind of wanted to go for a Blink Stalker all in, but then you also look at SHIN, he's on like 51, 52 drones. He's not saturating the third base, he's just pumping Roaches and Lings and gearing up for Ravagers. It's kind of funny because in that kind of situation, neither player really wants to be the one attacking the other, right? It's almost like you're both winding up to go for a quote-unquote all-in. And so for SHIN to move across the map with the Roaches, Lings, and Ravagers, of course, that was his game plan. But the fact that herO has like 10 gateways plus 1, he's already got at least 1 cannon and a shield battery, and he went for all those Oracles. Yeah, that game was just wild. I want to see more maps played in PvZ on kill switch.
I gotta say, all the PvZs we've had today have been anything but formulaic. And you know, sometimes PvZ, and I guess it depends on the meta and the patch that we're in, but some PvZs like definitely look a certain way, especially when the Protoss gets really passive, and we kind of just watch them tack up and then tech up more and then tech up more, and eventually it's just like it's too much to handle. But yeah, these have been very tempo-wise, really interesting games to have, and I think some of that does come down to the maps that we have.
Yeah, it is fun. I've been enjoying seeing Antimatter and all the shenanigans coming up too. herO's been one of these players who, I don't think we have the map in the pool. I actually can't remember the name right now, but there's a map with, oh my good, I was gonna commentate on the progressing the drones, but rarely do you see it as active as that. But yeah, there was another map that I think was in the Team Liquid map contest that has like a little worker-only path that goes into the main base. And I saw herO playing, I think it was like some weekly cup or something, and he sent the probe cross map and use the worker only path in a PvP and proxy 3 gateways right from the onset. And it's the kind of thing where you only see it once, and then you don't get to see it again. And it's just like what SHIN did in that game number 1 on Antimatter. Now it's on herO's radar on that map to look for the proxy hatchery that could be going for a Ling all-in. But it's just so fun having these maps and having the builds kind of revealed to us as they play out here in the RSL.
I do feel like a lot of StarCraft 2 maps weren't taking risks for a while. You know, for another year or two there. Yeah, I think a lot of the maps we have specifically in this tournament, I think allow for games that look and feel very different.
Actually, a lot of Lings in production right now for SHIN.
Yeah, a lot. I actually wasn't going to mention it. It's gone back into drones here. The Ling counterattack is actually really nice. I mean, beyond just stopping these probes from mining, he should be able to get 1 or 2 kills here.
Yeah, 1 kill, I think, already there at the wall, and he's even going for the pylon right now, so the probes are going to come right back. One of these probes very close to going down, excuse me.
This was one of the greatest buying of time moves. Sending the probes back and then in, and then he really isn't losing that much. I thought this would have, you know, done a lot more hurt. I like the splitting here. He's going to at least get 1 or 2 probes down. He's going to target 1 more.
3 probes? Oh, is he going to get the 4th one? It's so low on HP. He could have gone to 4th, but 3 probes in total, plus the full scout off and activating the Oracle. That is a nice win there for SHIN. For 4 Lings, you take that any day of the week.
So, for now, it's just going to be the Zerg droning up. The Harass actually did surprisingly well. It looked like it wasn't going to do anything for a little bit, and then he actually took out about 3 probes there. So this puts SHIN in a fairly comfortable spot. We don't have the 3rd base yet. In some of these games, herO got a really fast 3rd base, like before any real definitive tech. This time around, the Oracle is going to be roaming here, going to see what he can't get done. He's going to send these 2 Adepts over here. There are a ton of drones here in the main. There's nothing at the natural. Looks like those were already evacuated. So he's going to try to commit in here and see what he can get, try to even this out. He's going to get, I think, at least 4, but then the Oracles come in here. And, I mean, 6 is a number you can be very happy with, even if you're going to sacrifice 2 Adepts in the process.
Yeah, that's a nice win there for herO, getting 6 drones like that. Some fancy maneuvering with these Oracles.
This Oracle's having a seizure right now.
I actually didn't know you could patrol it that close.
Yeah.
Remember the Viking flower from like Wings of Liberty? That was,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
There was, I think, no limit. Oh, wait. Hold on. Oh, boy, herO. herO Wallens, nothing in the Wallen. Lings flooding now the natural and the main base. 2 more probes do go down the natural expansion. Adepts warping in. Not the disaster that I thought it might be. I was expecting kind of 4 or 5 probes to go down in total. And actually, it's herO with these Adepts canceling the shade and just full sending here on the 3rd. There's only 2 queens to defend as the Lings are elsewhere trying to deal with some other attack.
Yeah, without Lings here, there's no real way to body block, so the Adepts can just sort of drift through. And now, again, I mean, this is just going to continue to add up. Right now, actually, SHIN's kind of navigated the drones just out of the range of the Adepts, so they're not really getting any drones. But in the main, it looks like things are fairly exposed, so that damage might continue. He's going to actually send these drones back in over here, and so 1 or 2 more is going to be picked up, maybe a little bit too premature.
This is kind of funny. I feel like both the probe count and the drone count are way lower than you expect them to be at 6 minutes. We just had SHIN and herO finally touch 50 workers there. It's eerie. We've had some very bizarre games between these 2 over the course of this series. It's fun to watch. I like this much more than kind of the standard cookie cutter like build up to a late game.
Well, a lot of times, like a lot of times PvZ feels a bit slow.
It's clinical.
Or it can be, yeah. And I think sometimes the Protoss is, you know, disincentivized to leave his base and try to do that much. This is a much more exciting match. Oh man, the Oracles. Oh, he's going to go for the Queens. I thought he was going to go for the drones there. Kind of an interesting maneuvering. The Lings are not high enough in numbers to try to smother these Adepts. He's going to try to come in here instead and try to preempt these Adepts. It just keeps going and going and going. There's 22 Lings hatching right now. Blink's about to finish, but for a long time now, Protoss has only been making Adepts. So the question is going to be, when this harass is done, I've lost count of how many drones have been killed and how many Adepts I've seen shading in and out of the 3rd and the main and the 2nd base here. But yeah, the question is going to be, what kind of core army does he have?
22 drones going down for 14 Adepts. 46 Lings and 2 Oracles. I feel like I've never seen an early game quite like this. It wasn't even a Glaives opening, but herO just kept warping in Adepts and sending them in like numbers of 3 or 5. This Stasis Trap also getting like almost a dozen drones. This feels like a mud wrestle of a PvZ.
You know, the Zerg is going to need a 4th base here. Zerg right now going up into Ling Hydra. He's going to have a lot more damage where you can't really kind of try to outmaneuver it. You know, if the Hydras are there and there's Lings in front of them, the damage gets insane, right? And we're talking about that on the advent of what looks like an attack coming up here. Yeah, he's going to make a proxy pylon, so there's probably going to be a gateway thrown there. This is the Hodor Stalker here, stopping all of these Lings from actually getting in. And I guess the question is going to be, maybe I'm completely off base here. I kind of thought there's, you would not want to try to attack into the Zerg if there's no easy target, if there's no fourth base being made, if they're just making enough to defend and you're kind of even. That just, when you're even in bases in PvZ, the Protoss is kind of ahead if the game went on long enough. Generally speaking, it's not always the case. It's not like a golden rule, but it's a general rule. But yeah, everything I'm seeing here from herO seems to indicate that he's sizing up for an attack. He's going to make that gateway there, so that does indicate at least a commitment to an attack. Maybe it's counterattacks for Zealots?
Oh, SHIN barely messing with the Lings, too.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I feel like this makes a lot of sense for herO just to be really aggressive with these Stalkers because he knows he's killed so many workers from SHIN. If he just keeps pressuring, and oh no, a little bit late on that Warpin, so we're going to have a recall here into the natural expansion. No probes actually going down. SHIN does not want to lose these Lings, so instead he's going to retreat. He will get the cancel on that fourth base. There's so many Stalkers on the field right now, able to pretty much cover all of the bases.
herO's going to be taking his fourth base before the Zerg can, and he's just going to be able to be out on the map here, creating pressure. The counterattack that was set up over here with the Lings is going to be engaged by the Stalkers. That's going to thin those numbers out.
Yeah, but back to my point earlier, I really like that herO's been so aggressive with these Stalkers because SHIN, he's on such a low worker count that if herO is on his side of the map, SHIN cannot afford to make drones. He has to make army, but actually SHIN is going for the attack right now. The Hydras and Lings going for a full surround. Remember, Recall got used to defend the natural expansion from a run-by. It is on cooldown. So all these Stalkers are going to get surrounded. Blink finally able to get them past this rock. A Stasis Trap is going to try and guard the exit. Hydras, man, I feel like I'm watching a survival horror game or something right now. These Stalkers trying their best to get away from the Horde. Recall still only halfway off cooldown as finally they do get surrounded. This is going to be an expensive loss here for herO, but it's not all for naught. 4 more Templar warping in. I'm sure we have more on the field, and Storm is nearly done. That's going to go a long way towards defending this next push. And SHIN on only 3 hatcheries, no 4th hatch, only 52 drones. He's so committed.
Yeah, the only thing right now that herO has going for him is that Hydra's off creep are so slow. But this attack is inbound. This attack is going to hit. And I don't actually think there's anywhere safe to blink to. The storms, I mean, how many perfect storms could you have to hold this? I don't know that there's enough in all of these Templars to make that happen. This position is getting flattened. And with this many Hydras here, I think that this can extend right up into the natural, maybe even into the main. There's a huge Zealot counterattack, but is there anything to stop this battering ram of Hydras and Lings that are just stampeding through this position and destroying everything?
All right, SHIN going into the main base right now. If herO is going immediately for the production, he takes down the Templar Archives. There is only 1 Templar left on the map. It's going to get energy recharge, so 2 storms are available. herO, he's trying to make something happen with these Zealots. SHIN down to 35 drones. herO's going to try and defend at the 3rd base. He has no production, basically no income. SHIN is reset down to 1 hatchery, and these Hydras are very low at the 3rd base of herO. The Storm, there's only 1 left. I don't think he can do it, Tasteless.
I have never...
Oh, man, it got sniped.
He's going to try to come up now. I've never quite seen this in PvZ. This is such a weird series we've got. The Hydras are going to close it out. There's nothing that can actually address the Hydralisks here. The Zealots, they're not high enough in number as long as you kite correctly, which we see SHIN is absolutely going to make sure is the case. This base is going to fall, and there's nothing left. In one of the most base-trading PvZs I think I've ever cast.
Yeah, I think SHIN's going to take it. This is going to be a 3-1 here in this best of 5 as herO just digesting a loss right now. His base is reset to not 2 Zealots warping in to defend the main base from this 1 Ling, but herO, he finally taps out. GG, a 3-1 victory here for SHIN. He's going to advance to the upper bracket semifinals.
Beautifully done. What a weird game. What an insanely bizarre all-in. SHIN was getting beat up quite a bit. I didn't think it made sense to attack with the Stalkers. Just seeing how many Hydras were being made there, it's like, oh no, this is not... If you're both powering up and about to attack into each other, like in the middle of the map, one of you is wrong. This is not... That's supposed to be some Greco-Roman wrestling match in the middle of the map with both your armies. Somebody's supposed to defend and take that advantage and maybe have a counterattack, maybe take more bases. There's a lot of ways to handle it. Yeah, I mean, the Hydras just melted everything that herO had, and the Zealot counterattack was cool, but ultimately, when when the dust settles from the 2 counterattacks, there's still so many Hydras there, this just block of Hydras. And with no storms, there's nothing else you can do.
You know how when you play like the Legacy of the Void campaign, or really any of the campaigns, you get to customize the units and make them do like something a little bit better? I feel like Shin, his drones just mine more minerals, because that was like a 50 drone economy, and he had so many Hydras. He had a screen full of Hydras. It was absurd.
Yeah, it was crazy. Guys, check out our merch. We've got hoodies and mugs and t-shirts and pins, say with me, State, for your rocker jackets. You know that sleeveless denim jacket you've got at home? Put some punk rock pins on there. Put some RSL pins on. You get 20% off on everything at my merch shop, tastelessthreads.com, if and only if you're a Patreon supporter. Are you a Patreon supporter? If not, go to our Patreon, check it out. We need your support in order to do things like RSL and keep these tournaments going. And I guess that's going to be it. Guys, we're going to go to a short break. When we come back, our second best of 5. You don't want to miss it. We will be right back.